Greetings and welcome to the BIMAS 2, the Behavior Intervention Monitoring Assessment System. My name is Achilles Bardos, and I'm a professor of school psychology at the University of Northern Colorado, and also the co-author of the BIMAS 2. In the next video, I will be demonstrating the use of the platform for universal screening, and I will walk you through all of the steps from the setting up the screening window, monitoring the progress of the screening process, whether you are doing the screening with students, with parents, or with teachers, reviewing the critical item number 24 that relates to self-harm, and also showing you how to review aggregate data across the district, across a certain building, and also for individual classrooms and individual students. Again, welcome to the BIMAS, and I will be going to the platform next. In this video, I will demonstrate how to set up a universal screening window and explore some of the functions of the universal assessment features of the BIMAS 2. First, we're going to log into the platform. This is a staging server, a show and tell server, as always, and I am going to log in. The first thing you will notice is by default we're going into the schools, and I have a number of schools that I have already entered here in the platform. But what we're interested in today in this video is to set up some windows for the universal screening. So I'm going to expand this little button in here, and you will notice that there are a number of options. The first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that we do not have an active window already. Otherwise, the platform will not allow us to run a second one at the same time. So I'm clicking here, and I see that I had my latest one closed yesterday on the 21st. There was another demo. So what I am going to do now, I am going to go over here and create a new UA window. This time I'm going to name the window, again, fall of 2020, and I will say version 2 is going to start today, and we will end this window perhaps by next week sometime on the 26th. Are we going to allow self-assessments? Well, if the students are 12 years and older, they can take the BIMAS, so we should say yes. And we should be inviting the parents as well. So this allows us to have everybody who can actually complete the BIMAS, that is teachers, parents, and students available to complete the BIMAS. Now I click here on the save, and this brings me this button. As you can see, it says save the UA and review the critical email settings. What is a critical email settings? Well, let's see. The critical email notification. It says here that the BIMAS includes an item that relates to self-harm, and when a rating of more than ever is endorsed for this particular item, item 24, then a number of things happen. The platform generates a table, and dynamically as the scoring takes place, and those with access to that table will be able to see who are the students who have identified themselves or endorse item 24 with very different levels. Here in that particular table, we will be able to actually see whether we have we will be able to see the student ID and the student name, or we can choose any of the other options. Down here, we will allow school staff, mental health team members, and also school administrators in that building to be able to also see that list. And in addition to that, these individuals will receive an email at 1 p.m. on their local time, an email that will have a table with all the names of the students who have identified themselves with an endorsement to item 24. Down here, we might also include some district recipients, some people like directors of special education, directors of psych services, and these people will be able also to receive that email. The idea here is to notify enough adults so that we don't miss a particular student who is calling for our help. So once we set up this, then we need to click Save, and this pretty much saves the configuration for the determination of universal screening window. I click over here, I view all the periods, and as you can see, here is my universal screening period, fall of 2020 version 2. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform the next step, which is I am going to identify or invite, I should say, those who will perform the testing, the rating. So I open the window, and the very top part of the screen, I see the assessment period, the self-assessment, parent assessment, and of course, I also see the user notification section here. So first, what we're going to do is we can, for example, invite the students. We can invite the students at any time during the school year. We don't have to wait, like for the staff or the teachers, the 4 to 6 weeks for them to get to know the students. So we can invite the students right away. Clicking on the students in here, you will see that I have also the option to send this invitation to everybody in the school district, all the students who are 12 years or older, or I can actually be selective and I can say I want to, for example, send only to my high school students, and from the high school students you may want to choose, for example, the ninth graders, or you can also choose the 10th graders, or you can put as many of these as you can, but I would suggest, depending on the resources that you have, school counselors, school psychologists, social workers, that you may want to consider how many students you're going to be inviting to do the screening. So perhaps just the 10th graders might be okay now. Now, we also created a new feature here during the pandemic. We call it a cohort to respond to and assist you with the splitting of a group into smaller groups. So, for example, grade 10, if we click over here, we'll see that we have created a cohort, which is a Tuesday and Thursday group. These are the number of students we have identified when we were building the student database. And we said in 10th grade, for example, you might have maybe 10, 15 people in a section coming to school on a Tuesday and Thursday, and another group some other days of the week. So if we click that one, you will notice right away when I identify the cohort that over here a new window pops up that tells me how many students do I want from this particular subgroup. Of course, you will say, well, I thought you were going to send it to everybody. But chances are some of the students in this group, the Tuesday, Thursday cohort, might not really show up during the day when you're going to be doing the screening, and we don't want to miss them. We want to hear their voice later on by inviting them again to take the survey. So what I'm going to do is, if I had a number of students here listed and I have one student who is actually missing, I can actually unclick that student, and that way I will know that the email will not go to the student, and the student might be somewhere else outside of the building. That way, we have a better control as to who is completing the survey, if you want the students to complete the survey in your presence or in smaller groups. In any case, this is not a required feature to break it down, but it's an available one. So you can click on this one, and now all my 10th graders are going to receive this invitation. I can press send emails, and an email will be sent and generated for every student in the 10th grade at Northridge High School here. If you want to create a manual invitation, you can create links for every single student, and you can send them a very special email with your text, not with a template, the generic template that we're using to send this invitation. So why not press send emails and see what happens? Well, it says to me, do you really want to send this to everybody who's 12 years and older? And since I know that 10th graders, they meet the criteria, so I click confirm. And what the platform is going to do is going to come down here, is going to look into the database. It will queue all the students who are 10th grade in Northridge High School. And surely in a few minutes, some emails will be sent out to all of these 10th graders in Northridge High. So while this is taking place, let's explore another feature here of the universal screening process. So I click here, and what I have is I created a period, and now let's pretend that the process began. Students have received their emails, they have started the screening, and so forth. So what I can do is I can go in here and I can monitor the performance. So I send, for example, the student emails. So as you can see here, of course, I don't have any emails because nobody has completed it yet. You will see the number of schools. Here, for example, you'll see the Northridge High in your district, and it should show how many students have completed it. But if I go down here, I can actually identify the Northridge High School, and I can pick up my 10th graders. And from the 10th graders, here is my filtering again, if I'm going to use the cohort, and I can see who has completed the BIMAS and who has not. In this case, of course, I have nobody because I just set it up. So that's how you monitor the progress of the universal screening process for students. Now I'm going to click back here, and I can show you how we can actually send invitations to parents and teachers. So I'm going to click over here. I'm going to go again to my UA periods. I'm going to identify the one. I'm going to go down here. And the first thing I've noticed is that 31 emails have been mailed to the students at 10th grade at Northridge High School. Now I can send the same, I can go through the same process with the parents, or I can do the same thing with the staff, with the teachers. So that's all I need to do, and that's how I invite everybody to complete the universal screening, the universal assessment with the BIMAS standard form. Now let's explore some of the other items that we had in here. The first thing that we notice is that we have also in this reporting feature, we have the critical item reports. So I click on the critical item report. Here is the fall of 2020 version 2. I don't have any data, of course. So let's pick up a district or a period where I have some fake data. So I select of summer of 2016. I identify the school, Northridge High School, and I go down here. I'll say, why not, the 10th graders. And now I select the student. Right away, we have now a list of all the students who have endorsed that item 24. As you can see, it shows you who the students are, the name of the school, their ID, so you can locate them right away, what grade level they are, and also lists one of the T-scores from the scale, the negative affect scale, a scale that relates to internalizing types of behaviors. And of course, item 24 contributes to this scale, along with many other items. So now, as it is, might not be as helpful because I have to scroll it like this to find out who the students might be. But we have the option to sort them out. And I'm going to sort them out by the magnitude of item 24. And now I can see who are the students with the highest level of endorsement for item 24. Here, for example, I see DeMarco endorses item 24 with a very frequent and also has a T-score of 2 standard deviations above the mean. This student, and this student, the first 3 students, are probably the students I would like to be in touch with the day that they are completing this rating and they are self-reporting this performance here, these concerns that I would say. The rest of them you can follow later on as the time permits. As you will see, some of them are just average scores, and the endorsement of one might not be something that will be alarming to you. But this 1, 2, 3 individuals might be somebody, again, that you need to be reaching out during the day. So this is also the reason why we recommend that you should begin the universal screening as early in the morning as you can for the high school, the older kids, for the self-rating, giving you a little time to process all of this cases. And also this is where the suggestion also is that you should be probably doing it in smaller groups, like a grade 7, 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever, and give yourself a day or two to process this at a grade level before you, for example, invite 1,800 students in a high school to do the scoring. Again, this will, before you do all of this, of course, you should be reviewing your threat assessment protocol in your building. That way your team will be prepared to deal with. Now at 1 p.m. during the day, the individuals we identify here earlier in the setup of the program will also receive an email that will have all of this information, all of these tables on a daily basis. This way, we cannot really miss a student who is calling for our attention and help. If you want to change who is going to be receiving this notification, all you have to do is just go over here to the universal assessment, scroll down to where it says critical notifications, and on the critical notifications, you will go back into this page again, and you might say, for example, that Mr. James Coleman, who was the director of special education, would like to receive this information as well. So we're going to save it now. This will update who is going to be receiving the emails for the list, and we are kind of finished with this. As it says, it was updated. So let's go back again into the universal screening window menu option, and see what other things do we have. We review the status, the progress monitoring, we review the critical items, and now we're going to do the data overview. For the data overview, this is assuming now that the window is closed and you want to do all the data, you want to do a data overview, or at any time during the universal screening process, you can click on the data overview, and here you can identify the period. Of course, we have no data here, so I'm going to pick up a period that has data. And here I may choose to review, let's say, the teacher data from, let's say, Sunnyside Elementary. And I'm going to select all of the grades at Sunnyside Elementary and all the teachers, so I can get a big picture of the school. Now, here is the beauty of the BIMAS. You can have a dual view to the children's behavior, to students' behavior. You can look at it from the original standard perspective with the 5 scale scores. Click in here, and over here you will be able to see the risk pyramids with a high risk, some risk, and low risk across the 5 domain areas of the BIMAS standard, which are externalizing, internalizing, executive function, we call it, area, and also the adaptive skills for the group. So you get a picture of what is going on from this perspective. Then, if you would like to see that from an SEL, the Castle framework perspective, you can click View the report here, and you will have the same data reorganized from a different framework, this time through the Castle framework, with an overall score and the 5 scales. Here, the higher the score, the better it is. The lower the score, it's area in need of improvement. If we click over here, high scores in the conduct, negative affect, and cognitive attention indicate students having needs to be addressed. Over here, Low scores are the ones that we're concerned and would like them to have high scores, like in the social and academic functioning area. So we explore this triangle in here and this triangle in here. So now let's click on the view class and group scores. Selecting the view class group scores, whether it is again in the standard or in the Castle SEL framework, we can obtain a list of all the students. In this case, we had selected the entire elementary school with all grades. And we can see now the list of the students in the building, along with the scores in every one of these BIMAS standard areas. Of course, for a better review of this, we can scroll down and we can see the aggregate statistics for the different areas. However, we can also go into any of the scales and sort them out. So we can sort the scores, for example, in terms of magnitude. We may want to sort them out here from the highest to the lowest. And this way we can identify the students that have been identified in various risk areas. Here, for example, we have the student named Greg who has gone through and in the conduct area has received a rating of 64, but in all other areas he is kind of high, very high, 2 standard deviations above the mean in the area of negative affect and cognitive attention, and low scores in the social and academic functioning. Of course, it will be best if we can actually sort out also by the scores in the negative affect area, because this might identify for us a group of students that were not really listed in the first category and so forth. So it is a good thing to go through and identify them. So as you can see, Greg here appears to be the #1 candidate that needing attention. I've actually want to go through and see what is going on with Greg. All you will have to do is to select his name, and by pressing on his name, it is a URL, which means it's going to take you to Greg's behavioral record. Here you will see the administrative stuff that we have about Greg, and below here we will see the data that we have across the various periods of universal screening for Greg, from this period to this period to this period, and we can notice, for example, the changes. I will go through in a different video describing some of this data, but as you can see up here, we have a way to go and look into specific areas, but we'll get back to that in a different video. Here we have Greg's teacher data, we have his self data, and scrolling down we can see his social emotional learning framework data, and also some of the self-assessments as well. Below that we will see the different monitoring plans, the behavior interventions that have been monitored by the BIMAS framework. Again, that is the way to look at the data. We can scroll back and we can now look at it from the SEL perspective. And as you can see here, again, we have the scores. Here is Greg again surfacing across all SEL areas as a student that is needing attention. As you can see here, first column shows the SEL total score, and the rest of them follow with the Castle's framework other 5 domain areas. So this provides kind of an overview of all of the functions that you have with universal assessment menu options in here. Let's see if we missed anything. Well, you can also see the data across different periods in here. So clicking, of course, I don't have any data to demonstrate that, but you can see that you can select a particular school, and you can select, also all the teachers, different scales that we have, and different grade levels. And you can see the data for every student across all of these fake periods that I have in here, demonstrating the platform. And scrolling down, you can actually do some other comparisons, selecting different periods, different schools, across grades, across scales, and so forth. So that is another option. Scrolling down here, we can see that we have some additional resources. One of them deals with the critical notifications. If I click on this one, as you recall, we set up the email notification system earlier when we set up the window. We may choose, for example, we may take out Alex from here, not receiving any more notifications because he's no longer in the district, and I can click save, and that will update who is receiving those emails. I can look into other types of resources. At some point, you may decide to export the data from the universal screening, so you can do additional data analysis for your district, or you can export the data in groups for a specific rater, for a specific teacher. So all of them as a team, as a group. So that pretty much covers all the functions of the universal assessment menu option here, allowing you to set it up, to monitor its progress, to take care of the critical items, the immediate need of the kids, having the data afterwards for an overview, and also across periods. The beauty of the web-based interface here is that you can generate this data at any time during the process of an active universal screening window, or later on when you go back and review certain periods, you can generate any of these reports as well. So that is it with the universal assessment menu option. Next, we will discuss some of the progress monitoring features of the BIMAS.